Welcome back to the State Champs studio for episode 10 of Extra Innings. Sorry about not having an episode last week. Weather kind of got in the way of our regional coverage. I'm Gage, DeAngelis, my battery mate all year long, Robby, Elliott. We are finally down to the state semifinals and finals. Robby, how are you?
I'm great. This is the best time of the year. We finally saw some playoff madness, and I'm so excited to cover and break it all down and talk about what is going to transpire, what we think is going to transpire this weekend at East Lansing.
Yeah, we have 16 teams remaining, 4 divisions, and only 4 state champions will be dogpiling in East Lansing here in about a week. As far as those teams remaining, we're going to talk a lot Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, Division 4. Division 1, we've had some fun names that we've talked about all year long. Division 2, you have your top teams still remaining. Division 3 is going to be a fun one. And Division 4, teams from all over. So today we're going to recap that kind of at least who we predict going into it, what we are going to be able to see. But first up, Division 1, Northville taking on Bay City Western. Robby, Northville's been a powerhouse all year long. They've barely dropped out of the top 3, if you will. Who do you see coming out on top between Northville and Bay City Western?
Well, this is a familiar matchup for both teams. They have played each other earlier on in the regular season. Isaac Pace threw for Northville, and he absolutely shoved that game. So you got to know that there's some familiarity and confidence in Northville that they can beat this team. However, you know what's the hardest thing to do in sports? Beat a team twice. Or beat a team again, let's first say. Bay City Western is going to have their hands full. They've been a really good team all season, but Northville has an edge. And they got a chip on their shoulder. They should have been here last year, right? And so now that they're here and that they're seeing it right in front of them, that trophy, they're going to be seeing it all weekend when they come in to that Bay City Western game. I have Northville taking this one, not by a landslide. I definitely think, we're going to talk strategy too in some of these games. You don't want to think that Northville is going to throw, an off guy and just think, hey, we're going to make it to the state final, because they know Bay City Western's not necessarily a slouch opponent, but I don't see them throwing Justin Brown, let's put it that way, and that is their ace. So that could make the game a little more even, right? But I think Northville comes out on top.
And our second semifinal game, of course, our number 1 team, Brother Rice from they've been dominant all year, taking on a surprising Grosse Pointe North team. Robby, you were going over statistics before we went over the show. Correct me if I'm wrong. Grosse Pointe North is under 500?
Under 500 team. I don't remember the last time that has happened. Gage, we talked about it earlier on in the year, right before actually the playoffs started. We said, hey, any team in any division can ride an arm. We talk about pitching being such an important thing. Well, Grosse Pointe North, don't get me wrong, there's some great players on this team. Rocco Cardinelli, he's a great outfielder, but Brennan Hill has been the guy that has put this team on his back and willed them into this Final Four matchup. And he's gonna get the ball against the number 3 team in the country, Gage. And no better way to do it, no better guy to do it. If you don't remember, 2 years ago when Orchard Lake St. Mary's was just dominating the state of Michigan, Brennan Hill took the mound as a sophomore and threw one of, if not the best game anybody has thrown against that juggernaut of a squad. And yeah, he was a sophomore once again. He is now going to get the opportunity to take on the number 3 team in the country as a senior, more polished, coming off a big, big win against Dakota. But with all that being said, great hype. That man right there is going to be on the mound against him. Cole Duhame, he's been amazing all year. Blake Illich has been amazing all year. I could go down 1 through 9, probably name 12 bats that have been just fantastic for Brother Rice. I got Brother Rice.
I think a lot of people have Brother Rice, but going back to what you said, as far as Grosse Pointe North goes, it's almost as if it's their redemption game, right? They had a chance to take on OLSM, the number 1 team in the country. Probably one of the most dominant teams we've ever seen in Michigan high school sports history.
Could be one of the most dominant baseball teams, high school baseball teams of all time, regarding where in the country you are at.
Completely agree. And for them to lose 1-0, be back a couple years later, it's the game of all games, in my opinion, in this semifinal. So, but Robby, when we first sat down these weeks and weeks and weeks ago, 10, 11, 12 weeks ago, and we discussed our top 10, I still think Brother Rice is gonna get by as well. But that's gonna be a really good game, and I could understand if Grosse Pointe North wins. I can understand that.
Right.
But we're going to find out here, in a couple of days. Now, on to D2. D2, Flint Powers Catholic versus Trenton. That's our first semifinal matchup. We've covered Trenton a few times this year, and we've talked about Flint Powers Catholic a lot, but mostly in the beginning of the season as far as our top 10 rankings. Who are some of the people that we're going to be looking for here, Robby?
Yeah, so Grant Garman, we've talked about him for Flint Powers Catholic year in and year, or just week in and week out. Oakland commit, he's going to be a stud. One of those guys. He's going to probably pitch in this game. Is going to do he's so favorite his matchup, the way he pitches. It's so favorable against Trenton. Now, don't let me get off my rocker and say, oh well, Flint Powers Catholic being my consensus top Division II team. When you're as hot as Trenton is right now, that's going to be tough for any pitcher to walk in and say, yeah, I'm going to dominate you, because these kids are walking around with a bunch of swagger. 3 walk-offs, Gage, to get to this point. One kid, Andrew Rooney, hit 2 of them. Imagine hitting 2 walk-offs in the same state tournament, back-to-back. Oh, I don't know if it was back-to-back games. Don't call me on that. But either way, there was at least a game between it. So Trenton, one of those teams that, they definitely thought they could be here, but to do it the way they did against the teams they did was super, super impressive. I still have Flint Powers Catholic for the simple reason that when you have a team that's just been so good all year round and a top Division I arm like they do, once you get down into these, not so much Division II, but you can find it a little bit in Division III and Division IV. When you got a top D1 arm, you can usually take that really, really far, the way that Grosse Pointe North has with Brennan Hill, the way that Beale City, who we'll talk about, has with Caden Smith. They're going to dominate in that facet, but the reason why they're the top Division II team is because this team can also really show up at the plate, and they're going to see that. Trenton is going to see that in the semifinal at East Lansing.
Now, I'm going to go against you, Robby. I'm going to say I'm taking Trenton here.
I like that pick.
I've talked about it last couple of weeks. When a team gets hot, it's the right time. But also for me, championship teams win one-run ball games. They've won 3 games in a row by 1 run. They've come up in the clutch moment and won the game. I really like Trenton. I really like their energy. I really like their team just coming together at the right time. This is that moment for them. So I'm taking Trenton. Flint Powers Catholic is amazing school, amazing program, but I'm just going to ride Trenton and what they've been doing, for their program.
And I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself here, but I do believe whoever wins this game wins the Division II state championship. My favorite part about Division II, ever since St. Mary's left it, and even before St. Mary's was really dominant, is it's always been the most unpredictable division. Every single year, you always have such fun teams coming out of it, teams making super great runs. And Trenton has been that team before, and they do have a lot of postseason experience. So I don't hate that pick, because postseason experience is such a big thing. I just can't pick against the top dog.
Couldn't agree with you more. Now, on the other side of that bracket, Robby, we have Spring Lake versus Richland Gull Lake. This is, we just talked about the powerhouses, I guess, Flint Powers Catholic and Trenton on the other side. But this side, don't take these 2 teams lightly. Who do you see coming out of this semifinal to meet with those teams?
Spring Lake has been a team that's been on our radar just a little bit. We've covered them a couple of times. So I've seen at least what they can do in terms of just on tape, right? So because I am so unfamiliar, I'm not going to sit here and say I know something about a team that I don't. Richland Gull Lake, I'm not too familiar with. However, Spring Lake, in my opinion, just from what I've seen, I would assume is the better team. So I'm going to go with Spring Lake playing Flint Powers Catholic in the state final.
I would have to agree with you on that one. Now, rounding out or coming up on the Division III, Division IV teams, Charlevoix versus Jackson Lumen Christi, 2 top teams we've talked about all year long. On the other side of that bracket, we have Detroit Edison versus Watervliet, right?
Watervliet.
A team over on the west side of the state. I have just based on everything I've seen this year, what we've covered, who we've talked about, I have Charlevoix coming out against Detroit Edison, at least in the final. Those are the two teams that I'm picking to go ahead. We covered Detroit Edison a little bit earlier this year. I think they're a solid ball club. As far as who you believe is going to be making it to the final, what are your final two teams in D3?
So I think that Charlevoix-Jackson Lumen Christian game is going to be amazing. Charlevoix has been that Division III team that we've talked about being in that top 5. We thought, at least I thought, Elginak was going to make the run that they did last year. Now, they didn't get as far, but, that's what happens in this thing. That's what happens. Detroit Edison tops them, and Detroit Edison has loads and loads of talent. Marlon Matthews is the highlight, the Western Michigan commit. I love that this team is finally here, and they're finally in the position to win it. They have had tons of great teams and just been stopped by some great teams. Grosse Pointe University Liggett, there's been a year where they were in Division III, and they stopped Edison. They've run into some juggernauts at the Division III level. I'm going to say Edison takes Watervliet, but I'm going to say Jackson Lumen Christi actually takes over on Charlevoix. I love the athletes on this team. They really play baseball in a different way just because, like I said, they just got athletes. They have guys who can make things happen on the base path. They're going to make great plays out on the field. So just overall good ball players. Jackson Lumen Christi, Detroit Edison, that's my lock for the Division III state championship.
Perfect. We'll see if that comes to fruition on Saturday. And as far as Division IV, 4 teams remain: Beale City versus Vermontville Maple Valley, and we have Marine City Cardinal Mooney versus Norway. Now, I've liked Cardinal Mooney all year long for Division IV. I think you did as well, Robby. I have them coming out on top. I have them winning the state championship for D4. So that's who I have. On the flip side, you have Beale City versus Vermontville Maple Valley. I think Beale City is going to come out on top. I like Cardinal Mooney. I think you have some reservations on that, Robby. What are your thoughts?
It's hard for me to pick against a school who has, because I'm going to say right now, I do agree with you. Cardinal Mooney definitely beats Norway, and Beale City gets past Vermontville Maple Valley. Cardinal Mooney, like Dan Cimini basically has, that they have a residency in East Lansing. I was talking to Dan Cimini after they beat Okemos, and he said that he buys a hotel room every year in East Lansing at this time, the weekend of June 14th, because he knows he's going to be back. And I'm blanking on the name of Beale City's coach right now, but I'm sure he does the same thing. And I also am sure that he probably puts in his order for a state championship ring because they are here every year and they're basically contending for it. So you got a 50-50 chance essentially that you're going to be not only in the game, but that you're going to win it. I got Beale City taking this one over Marine City Cardinal Mooney. But don't get me wrong, both these teams are super familiar with this stage, and a lot of people had some doubts against Marine City Cardinal Mooney. They lost Coach Rice, they lost Trent Rice, they lost a bunch of names, but they're back, and they're still super strong, still super good team in Division IV. Don't count them out, but Caden Smith is going to probably get the ball in that Beale City game. He's great, not only on the mound, but at the plate, and I think it's going to be the Beale City Aggies, who, not to go off topic or anything, I think they got the coolest logo in the entire state. Have you ever seen that logo?
I have not seen it. I'll have to take a look at it when we're there.
You have to check it out. It's a sweet logo.
And I'll touch on one more thing, before we wrap up here. You just mentioned it, coaches. I think this is the time in the year where you're going to see not only the players come to fruition, but if you're really a gamer of baseball, you're going to see some coaching tactics, some coaching defensive shifts. You're going to see how they're going to pitch certain players, how they're going to defend against somebody like a Dante Nori stealing, trying to steal second base. This is where you get to really see into the mind of a coach. So I would definitely say if you're out there watching baseball, definitely see what these coaches are doing with their players to be able to see how they're going to react to certain things. So, and from Division I down to Division IV, you said there's some high-end coaching there that you're going to be able to experience in the state final. So I'm really looking forward to it. Robby, is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to cover, or is there anything that I missed that we need to go over?
No, I just think this is going to be another great year of state finals. We made our predictions, right? Let's actually do that. We predicted who we think we're going to be there, but we won't be back until probably our next episode will be coming out while we are standing somewhere on the campus of Michigan State after the conclusion of all 4 state final games. Let's make our predictions. Let's do that. So let's go back from Division 4 and let's go up. We had Beale City, Marine City, Cardinal Mooney. I said Beale City. You had said Cardinal Mooney. Division 3, you had Charlevoix, right?
Correct.
Playing Detroit Edison.
Correct.
Who do you think is going to win that game?
Man, it's really hard for me to pick on this one, but only because I've seen them and know them a little bit. I think this is Detroit Edison's year. I think they're going to be the ones that take the Division 3 state final.
I absolutely agree with you. Detroit Edison for me as well. Yeah, I'm gonna ride with that. I almost went Jackson Lumen Christie, but we're gonna stay with Detroit Edison. All right, Division 2, Trenton. Well, you had Trenton. I had Flint Powers Catholic. Yep. Who do you think is going to win that one?
As far as for the state title in Division 2, I'm riding Trenton. I really like how hot they are. I think they're going to ride that all the way into the state final, and they're just going to, in that final game, they're going to use anybody and everybody to their will to be able to win this game. So I'm riding Trenton all the way.
And then I'm gonna pick Flint Powers Catholic. Like I said, in my opinion, whoever wins that Flint Powers Catholic Trenton game is going to win the title. Do you pick against the nationally ranked Warriors?
It's so hard. It's so hard to pick against any 4 of those teams. I mean, even if you look at Grosse Pointe North on paper, there's no way Brother Rice loses to them. Anything can happen in the state final. That's what I'm saying. It's hard to pick any 4 of these teams because you have an absolute ace commit going to Michigan from Grosse Pointe North who hides the ball beautifully from that left side. If anybody sees him pitch, you'll understand what I'm talking about. For Brother Rice, they almost seem like the OLSM of a handful of years ago. Bay City Western is a top-notch program, and of course Northville, brand new coach.
Brand new coach who's very familiar.
Not new. He's got a couple state titles, but I'm gonna have to piggyback off of what you said day one, that Brother Rice will be the state championship and champion in Division 1, and I'm going to ride with that. I'm going to say Brother Rice as well.
Yep, I'm going to say Brother Rice. I'm not going off my pick from beginning of the year. I do say, though, because Brother Rice and Northville, who my prediction is for this state final game in Division 1, they played earlier in the year. They had a pitcher coming off a little, short rest. I think it's going to be a lot closer when you add in the stakes of this game, when you just add in simply the fact that they've seen each other again. I think that's going to create a much, much closer ball game. Definitely not going to be a mercy type game. I'm going to say it's a really close game, either tied or within a run through about 5, and then somebody's going to separate themselves. In my opinion, it's going to be Brother Rice.
Absolutely. Well, the next time that you see us, we will have crowned state champions. We'll be going over their storylines and how they made it all the way to the state championship. Otherwise, get out there, support your local community, support those high schools that are in that state final. I know Robby and I will be as well. Anything else, Robby?
Say hi if you see us.
Absolutely, do that. Definitely. Definitely don't be a stranger. So as far as that goes, that is episode 10 here from the State Champ Studio for Extra Innings. We will see you next time.
State Champs Extra Innings is presented by Lawrence Technological University. Be curious, make magic. Extra Innings is also brought to you by the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. The Michigan Army National Guard, a proud sponsor of the MHSAA. And the Detroit Athletic Club Foundation's Michigan High School Male and Female Athlete of the Year Award.